Welcome to SwampSession Golf Foxtrot Whiskey Bravo 1, Session 1. It's time to get a grasp and shape real plans for increased readiness. The Gator Rapid Action Survival Plans and the Gator Decision Making Process will help you forge through the estimate of your current situation, make prudent plans, and provides a well-thought-out process to focus your efforts. Here you can see definitions for the GRASP and GDMP. Rapidly execute these swamp exercises as step-by-step lessons. Each SwampX is intended to provide advice with the ability to scribe notes related to specifications in your situation. Here is a breakdown of each SwampX with a suggested sequence of events and tables. Complete the worksheets with as much initial information as you can in pencil. Annotate any remarks in the notes section that best represents your status in each area. Later, once you have completed this program, you can revisit these worksheets and update them according to your new perspectives. Review each area and think about how this data relates to your specific scenario. Then, you can get straight into penciling draft information in the worksheets and get a head start to build your data set slowly. For this exercise, complete the worksheets with as much initial information as you can. Annotate any remarks in the notes section that best represents your status in each area. Later, once you have completed this program, you can revisit this worksheet and update it according to your new perspectives. The reference worksheets are on the Gator FERPS Workbook 3 and Gator FERPS Handbook 3. Your purchase of the publications will provide you with hands-on information so you can have the data when the grid goes down. At minimum, I suggest you purchase the paper copy of the Gator FERPS Tactical Standard Operation Procedures, which is a 2-part book set you can take with you. Otherwise, I have included the worksheets in Workbook 1 for free. Workbook 1 can be found in the free Basic Survival Training. The safety of you and your small group unit, or SGU, is more important than money. Please note that products are copyrighted. Commercial use with express writing consent is prohibited. Review each area and consider how this data relates to your specific scenario. Before we can assess your current readiness level, let's take a moment to stop, look, and listen to our surroundings. The Readiness Level Requirement, or RLR, estimate is the level of preparedness and planning and resources needed, measured against a specific scenario, such as a sudden flash flood requiring an immediate bug out. At what level are you required to be prepared? You may not need to maintain the ability to quickly mobilize in the strange anomaly of a violent water flow or face evacuation from chemical spills. That is until it happens. What can and will happen, especially in these perilous times? Your initial readiness level is your current ability to operate and survive an emergency disaster that instantly strikes. This is the actual readiness level, or ARL, an estimate of how you can survive with what you currently have. The rate of ability to survive a disaster is based on the real tangible results of efforts to educate, rehearse, and resource your SGU. Readiness level requirements minus your actual readiness level equals the family pain factor, or FPF. That is the amount of pain and discomfort your group will suffer, like sitting stranded in remote woods, wet, tired, thirsty, with no assets or knowledge of how to make a fire, capture water, stay warm, or any miseries accompanying unprepared survivalists. The formula RLR minus the ARL equals your FPF. What is your estimate? Okay, let's wrangle and start grasping the issues around their rhetorical necks with some effective decision making. This guide will help you rapidly prepare and execute specific alternatives. The GDMP includes a process in which you must learn how to think through variables and how they affect your regional and local environments. You must get a grasp on how to manage the risks associated with each, such as the political, economic, social, information, infrastructure, physical environment, civil and military organizations' proximity and jurisdiction. Regardless of a global, national, or regional level disaster, ground zero is where you and your SGU are when disaster hits. We are subject to the risks and the probability of the occurrence of natural or man-made disasters. Your preparation can help ensure you and your SGU are able to handle any situation. Get fit in all facets, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Do this to build resiliency to withstand any disaster. If your health is poor, decide to improve your condition to prevent higher risks while enduring hardship. Disasters come in all forms. Know the potential for each. Do not limit preparation. Every day people are seeing the revelation that what can or not even planned will happen. Integrate emergency disaster planning everywhere you go and in everything you do. At home, on vacations, travel, and during mundane errands. No car should ever be without an emergency kit in the event of an individual mobile disaster. You will quickly find out how severe a situation can become in an emergency, such as sudden flooding, blizzards, vehicle malfunction, road closures, and even running out of gas can lead to life-threatening situations. You must develop a concept as soon as possible balancing life, work, and major issues using available resources to enable the best preparedness level possible. Learning quickly and getting outdoors into the field and practice skills to help when real hardship is imposed due to an unpredictable event. Focus on priorities of life-saving capabilities in short versus long-term disasters when considering resource needs. Once safety from an immediate threat is achieved, water is a life-saving critical resource. Thereafter, the scenario and duration will drive other needs, such as food, shelter, etc. Maximize the newest technologies to keep up with the competing demands of your ongoing livelihood, such as solar panels for power management. Yet, in the event of catastrophic losses, become less reliant on technology and building basic capabilities. SwampX Bravo. Stage 1. The deliberate, detailed, centralized planning stage. Review the full range of probable and likely threats, analyze, and compare multiple alternatives to identify the best possible action in each emergency scenario. Integrate, coordinate, and synchronize the entire SGU, preparing them for solid decentralized execution and reaction to different emergencies. Solidify unknown factors by determining specified, implied, and essential tasks, facts and assumptions, assets needed, and actions to take and prepare for the next stage to rehearse, educate, and assess your SGU capabilities and validate logistical needs. Situation Survey. Gator Table, GT 12.41, will help start a funnel for your fact-finding. This information is used to get right into the conduct of a survey of the geography and demography of the area, such as a regional map assessment, climate, natural disaster or man-made threats, and the medical support, water and food supply, roads, rail, and air transportation, emergency services locations, assets, and more. Do not paralyze yourself by being totally dependent on external organizations. Parallel your estimates for ventures in differing national regions and overseas. Bridge applicability of this planning for bug outs to an alternate location outside of your regional area. Head of Household Estimate. Assesses the current situation, gaps needed to fill in the KSAs, and visions of how you and your SGU should react to a specific scenario. Analysis of life operations. The ALO facts will entail those quantifiable, measurable, and specific details, data, and information, such as distances to school from home, ages, average temperatures, health data, flood areas, transportation routes, and method of movement. Identified facts. This is data having existence, actual occurrences, and are matters of objective reality. Assumptions. Assumptions are estimates, hypotheses, or simply put, guesses about what you think will happen during an event. Ask yourself, how can assumptions be mitigated, eliminated, or impact reduced through education? Set TC. Conduct the initial review of variables in each scenario to build better alternatives using Gator Table GT 1.5. Then complete worksheets GT 1.10 and GT 1.11 for each scenario to help you draft an understanding of how these variables affect alternatives. Plans of action and development. This derives the concepts to support survival and are broad potential solutions to an identified problem. This is a two-step process to develop plans and then compare them. Step 1. Develop a cost and FERPS for each situation you may face. A plan must be developed on how to react to each scenario. Bottom line. Is it bearable, supportable, and sustainable? Step 2. Compare alternatives. Decide which are the best plans and actions based on the probable emergency, event, disaster, or catastrophe. Make sure you have a FELP plan of action worksheet for each scenario. Family Emergency Leadership Procedures, aka FELPS Action, Reaction and Regroup Plans worksheets. A FELPS alternative, in Gator Table GT 1.13, should be established for each type of scenario. They should be centrally planned and ready for decentralized execution. They should be known by every member and should be distinguishable with a specific cue, or code word, triggering reaction and employment of the necessary reactions to survive. Each alternative you develop must include the steps to take action, reaction, and regroup. Conduct an analysis of the advantages and disadvantages. Always consider facts and assumptions and assess risks and resolutions. Each FELP will have strengths and weaknesses requiring a dedicated evaluation and pre-planning during the shape stage. Gator Table GT 1.5 will help you begin the development of draft alternatives to varying probable disasters, either natural or man-made, covert or overt. These notes will help build smart data later when you complete the FELPS worksheets. Equipment and resources. Initiate movement to acquire and maintain the needed equipment and resources, which are driven by your situation surveys, assessments, estimates, and plan of action development. You will do this by conducting a needs-based capabilities assessment, aka the NBCA. Utilize the Gator Equipment and Recourse Living working checklist to help check off what resources you may need. Gator Learning Rally Points, aka the LRPs, are points to ensure lessons are learned throughout the training system. Learn from advice and lessons learned on sustainment, communication, and survival requirements. Capture what you learn along the way and improve upon what you learned. Gator Swamp Task Steps. The Gator Swamp Task Steps, aka the Swamp Steps, is the significant work and major priority task steps is a priority of work philosophy. This process will assist with ordering tasks in their ranking of importance. For example, your priority now while you have time is to gather the minimum amount of the most critical equipment and resources needed for survival. When disaster hits, your priority in a flood would be to grab your ready-made bug-out bag. Hopefully didn't wait to purchase. And head for high ground during a flood. If not, you're stuck with no way to communicate, gather, hold and sterilize water or stay warm. Also, before it is too late, consider these points. When the cue or event trigger occurs, where will your survival gear bug-out bag be located? How will you recognize the severity of each risk, and how to rank and file inherent and implied tasks? Then manage these tasks while initiating movement, ensuring simultaneous and synchronous progressive order accomplishment. Once a cue indicates a disaster commences, where will you go, and what will be your objective? Learn efficient and deliberate movement. Make sure you are always hydrated and in sound, healthy condition. Movement may have risks and include rough terrain, slippery wet surfaces, steep rocky hills, and fast-moving water. You must be very careful to avoid any injuries. Properly prepare. Always pack a small first aid kit for any minor issues. Consider if cell service is out. How will you communicate with your SGU? I provide several useful Gator tables in the radio, digital, and virtual communication sections. Communication and rock drills. Establish and practice effective business rules of communication. How to think about where to go and what to do in the absence of direction. Conduct rock drills through each step of each alternative. As you conduct a map reconnaissance or hands-on exercise, go through each step of the drills, think through the elements and risks. Develop hypotheses or alternatives on what your SGU might need in each stage. Prioritize your logistics and resource support needs and consider the life-saving keys in the areas of hydration, water, mobility, and survivability. Manageable resource acquisition. Do not be overwhelmed with the urge to prematurely buy a lot of the wrong and or useless survival gear. You can begin with the conducting an inventory with the checklist, creating a concept of survival support, or COS, for home and grab-and-go bug-out bags and kits. Ensure a constant state of readiness to move quickly. Accumulate the required items balanced on your NBCA. Keep an inventory for your bag with a picture to depict the bag with all equipment laid out, and decompose a list of what is in each pocket. Keep a copy of this list and diagram in the most easily accessible pocket for easy reference to what is in the bag, where it is, and the listing of expiry dates of perishable items, such as food, water, and iodine tablets. As you mature in preparation, you will identify how proper preparation will make the difference, such as waterproofing fuel or lighting sources and making sure any items with batteries are packed properly to help prevent seepage and track the level of energy. Depleted batteries are the worst surprise at the wrong time during an emergency when you need light. I find rechargeable batteries with a rechargeable source, such as solar, wind, and the like, work the best. SwampX Bravo Review. While completing the exercise, can what is written help answer the 3 basic questions below? You will consistently evaluate the best plan of action if they are bearable, supportable, and suitable. Ask if they have feasibility. Can it work? Suitability. Is it the right solution? Acceptability. Can you accept the outcome? Different configurations for different scenarios. Your planned efforts and focus will be different for short camping trips or long-term bug-out situations. Remember, this does not need to be a fear-laden worry fest. Keeping the concept in mind of combining emergency preparedness with a bit of fun with camping will help provide purposeful objectives to learn and acquire new skills and conduct real tests while in the elements. Once the shape assessment is complete, the plan must be published, communicated, and rehearsed. You must now rehearse, educate, assess, and review the estimated feasibility of the logistical plans and resources and record the lessons learned. At a minimum, a map exercise must be completed in which SGU individual Gators will gather around tables with the draft plan and maps of the areas and talk each scenario through. This process should educate your SGU on how to think through a situation and not necessarily exactly what to think. An effective planning process must quickly integrate action with flexible, tactically sound, and synchronized efforts that increase the likelihood of success. However, any possible unexpected issues require flexibility. Therefore, it is critically essential your SGU knows how to think through a situation. You want to transcend the skills to your SGU necessary to adapt and be prepared to enter any environment and react to a wide range of unexpected threats and other influences. A plan is worthless if not practiced, coordinated, and the necessary equipment and supplies are unavailable. Rehearse. Practice, practice, and more practice. Rehearsals will exercise and coordinate the actions between your group members and reveal weaknesses or problems of your alternative. Briefer and team member responsibilities. Rehearsals should include all iGators to read the plans and assign tasks. Types of rehearsals: backbrief, map reconnaissance, radio, communication, sand table and terrain model, rock drills, and full live action crawl, walk, run through exercises. Crawl, walk, run rehearsal and training plans, schedule, and frequency. Conduct map reviews, practice how you would communicate, etc. For each FERPS, conduct a dry rehearsal with your SGU. At a minimum, have a map laid out on the table, and use game pieces to represent each SGU member and other available items to signify different landmarks, vehicles, schools, work locations, etc. To set up the game, once all pieces are in place, someone announces the current situation, including where people are located, the current weather, the scenario, and potential threat. Then, boom! The drill is enacted with a cue such as, Tornado High Noon Workday. The controller states directives as the reaction develops and provides successive orders to ensure success. Conduct initial and post-inspections on things, such as understanding, gear preparation, contact cards, etc. Educate. Motivate and communicate the narrative of each specified scenario. The concept to educate should be ingrained throughout the entire centralized planning and decentralized processes. The Gator Summit program will help sort through the huge array of resources from disaster, emergency, survival, and prepper resources. Assess. Assessment is the continuous monitoring and evaluation of the current situation. Assessments consist of the following activities: monitoring the current situation to collect relevant information, evaluating progress toward attaining end-state conditions, achieving objectives, performing tasks, and recommending or directing action for improvement. Integrate a process for a continuous cycle of learning in which feedback and critiques will maximize the reinforcement of learning. Gator Learning Rally Points, aka LRP, Learning Points. Create dedicated and broadcasted learning points. These are more formal in concept with planning and scheduling of learning points. You can also use these as quick on-the-spot huddles to discuss and point out learning lessons while they occur. If the discussion is too lengthy and disrupts the flow of an event, then identify the point to be discussed and add this to the pronounced list for discussion ASAP. Gator LRPs. The Gator After Training and Operations Review Learning Rally Points is a form of after-action review. A good approach is 3 up and 3 down. A minimum of 3 positive and 3 negative or improvement points about what was planned and what happened. The Gator LRPs table, GT 11.32, can be a formal sit-down with charts and notes, or a field-expedient informal huddle. In this stage, you will want to go over what went right, what went wrong, and how they can improve their KSAs in the action drills. Logistics and lessons. Do not just buy an item you think you need off a checklist and stuff it in a bag. Equipment needs require a committed assessment based on the conditions, reference the SET TC, which is an acronym indicating the variables for the situation, environment, time, terrain and weather, threat, and category, and your continual ongoing household 6 estimates and awareness of the situation. Now we enter SwampX Delta. We are in Stage 3. The Plans stage. The Plans acronym stands for Procedures, Leading Actions, Needed for Survival. Here is a listing for the worksheets for this exercise. Phase 1 was the deliberate peacetime planning phase in which your environment is at peace with the forces of disaster. Phase 2 is the time-constrained, event-triggered stage. During whatever crisis, such as the river levels rise to your doorstep, the electricity goes out, a chemical spill on the railroad nearby, etc. It is the wrong time to think about what actions your small group unit, aka SGU, must take or what resources you may need. The planning and preparation in Phase 1 will ultimately lead to better preparedness in the plan stage. The SGU command, control and communicate, or C3 system, must be reliable, responsive, and durable. Complete the prep for good, aka P4G, and shape real plans process and everything therein, including the surveys, estimates, alternative development and analysis, planning, resourcing, educating, rehearsing, assessing, etc. Once the shape and real stages are complete, your efforts should not be placed on shelves to gain dust, become outdated, and be forgotten. This should be a living, adaptable, real-time process. Always be vigilant and prepared for plans. The last phase in the shape real plans phases. Procedures. Break out your previous drafting efforts of your FERPS Gator tables, GT 1.13, and practice. The military defines battle drills as collective actions rapidly executed without applying a deliberate decision-making process. These require minimal leader orders to accomplish and are standard throughout the Army. A cue signals an event and kicks off actions. Adapt this mentality for your SGU. Leading. Leadership includes the ability to influence the actions of others. Also, it includes responsibility and accountability. Actions. Decisive yet prudent actions. Indecisiveness can be a huge risk to survival. For example, waiting too long to bug out in the face of an oncoming hurricane. Procedures and leading are the methods we use to invoke action and are closely tied together. Your SGU must have and know procedures to execute and act to survive in any scenario. Needed for. Essential to survival to improve statistical averages for not just survival but living confidently and free from fear. Survival is a good mnemonic for the plan's execution phase of the time-constrained decision-making process in FERPS. but make sure you understand and have thoroughly reviewed and prepared for the deliberate decision-making in the shape stage. S. Size up the situation. The surroundings, equipment, and physical condition. U. Undue haste makes waste. Use your senses. R. Remember where you are. V. Vanquish panic and fear. I. Improvise. V. Value life. A. Act like the natives. L. Live by your wits. Learn basic skills. Lastly, we enter stage 3 of plans. A unit must have the queue system continuously active in this time-constrained environment in which an SGU may be dispersed and must act in a centralized manner. Maintain a disaster readiness level status system, such as DRL1. Continuously scan the environment and be prepared to react to the cues to include news updates, environmental indicators, regional, national, and global level natural or man-made threats, etc. These cues signals an event and kicks off actions. Procedures. These are battle drills as collective actions rapidly executed without applying a deliberate decision-making process. The following are keys to drills. Prompted from a cue, these require minimal leader orders to accomplish and are standard throughout the Army. A Unit C3, Command Control, communicate system must be reliable, responsive, and durable. Leading. Leadership to include the ability to influence the actions of others. All I-Gators of the SGU must be leaders as well as good followers. In the absence of their parents, children old enough to be on their own should be able to lead their own actions and think any problem through. Actions. Execute decisive yet prudent actions. Indecisiveness can be a huge risk to survival, for example, waiting too long to bug out in the face of an oncoming hurricane. Actions made too hastily without some shape or form of prudent decision-making can lead to catastrophe, but following this process will help ensure proper planning to prevent poor performance. Procedures are the method we invoke action and are closely tied together. You and your SGU must have and know procedures to execute and act to survive in any event. N equals needed for the preservation, freedom, safety, and security needed for the capability to execute the critical tasks required to survive. Ask yourself the questions. What statistic is your household or group in? Are you well prepared or somewhat prepared? Do you have the supplies of food or water or a communications plan, respectively? Think about your current rate of readiness versus where you should be for both your residence and mobile survival situations and estimate the gap between being ready and not being ready. See GT 1.17 Disaster Readiness Rates. Now that you have reviewed the Prep for Good and Shape Rio plans process, you must complete everything therein, including the surveys, estimates, FERPS and cost development, analysis, planning, resourcing, educating, rehearsing, assessing, etc. When you are complete, do not just place your plans on a shelf with a sign, "Break glass in case of emergency." Make it a real-time, living, continual process, and always be vigilant and prepared for the need to implement plans, the procedures, leading actions needed for survival. That concludes our lesson for today. I hope this program provides the tools you will need to properly prepare and build your